Hey guys, where's the camel at?
Right there.
How do you think the camels smell, Mama?
Stinky.
Stinky.
Totally worth it though.
Hey guys, Matt Lawn-Care Little Guy here again, and this is actually day 3 on my fencing job, and I'm just going to show you guys what I'm doing. I'm really horrible. I need to get better footage just so that the entertainment factor gets boosted a little bit, but bear with me guys. So this is where I'm at with the job. Okay, I've already moved all my wood, and you guys saw the video where I ripped all these, so now I'm actually on site again. I got it stacked nicely, and they're actually matched up. Okay, so basically this board and the board underneath it belong to each other. They came from the same board. So my goal is to always make those up next to each other because the thicknesses are not always exact, and I want to make sure that this fence is as lined up as possible so we don't have a differential in the gap between the pole and the, you know what I'm talking about. You guys are smart. So here we go. I'm going to take you guys over here and I'm going to show you how my method. And oops, I know that there's a lot of different ways that people do this, and I'm not really a scientific guy. I'm detail oriented, but I'm not really scientific, but I try. So what I did was I actually adjusted my string line. I'm going to turn around now. Now this is where I'm going to actually start, but I'm probably going to put a flat piece across here. But I got my string line, and there's a nail over here holding it. And then I've got it strung all the way down going as a slant, okay? And this is going to be the marker for my top railing. All right, so we're going to the slope, going to the slope, going to the slope. But then it's going to even out. It's going to level out right about here. So I put another nail right here to kind of bring this down a little bit, and then now it's flat all the way across. Okay, so I've actually already briefed my helper, who happens to be the owner of the house and the person I'm doing the fence for. So now my method is, with these boards, I'm going to go up, I'm going to measure from post to post, because it's not exactly 8 foot, okay? Because remember, I'm building this fence from scratch, so I don't have to be perfect with where my posts were, and I didn't try to be perfect. I just wanted to be within at least a couple inches. That would be a lot to be off, but at least a couple inches of 8 foot, but I don't have to be exact. So I need to go and I need to measure between each post for each runner, and then cut these boards off. These are 10 footers. I need to cut them off, all right? And then when I cut them off, I'm going to drill 2 pilot holes so I don't split the end of the wood, and then I'm going to screw them in, okay? Screw them in to the center of the board. So I'm going from center to center, and that's going to be it. So I'm kind of just going to keep the camera rolling and just let you guys kind of work, and I'll try to edit it out so to remove the dead spots in this. But anyways, I need to bring some tools out, I guess, and get to it. So enjoy the video. Okay guys, we're back at it, and my helper came out. We ran a row. We ran the top row. Perfectly with my string. Perfectly with my string, yo. And this is what it looks like on that turn, you know, where it's going to go from level to... Now I did adjust my string up a little bit because it still slopes a little. So, and this is what this looks like. Now notice something here, right? That's fairly flat. It was really important to me that I matched my boards, because remember I ripped my 2x6s in half. But the widths are not always the same, so you can get like a jagged edge on that joint that I was talking about. But when you actually match the same board, you know, the two halves together right next to each other, you really don't have as much of a problem with that, and it reduces the probability that you're probably going to have to shim it so that you don't have a jagged edge where your fence panels are going to meet each other. So we do have a problem here. In an earlier video, I kind of mentioned that I kind of messed up my fence line. So we haven't done this side yet, the ends yet, because I'm not sure how I'm going to attach it yet to this post. So I really don't know what my measurement's going to be like. So when I figure that out, that's when I'll actually cut those ends. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a string line for the bottom, and then we'll do the same thing for the bottom. That's really not a necessary thing, but that's just kind of like my detail. That's just me. A more experienced fence builder would probably be like whatever and just put the dang thing up, but not me. I'm going to string line it. So anyways, I'll come back with you guys, and after I run that string line, I'll show you that. Okay guys, I've got my string line set now, and what I did, how I decided to do this is I used my same string line that was on the top, but as you can see, it's not there anymore. All I did was I moved my nail. Okay, I just moved it down, and what I did was so that I could keep it equidistant. The bottom, all the rails would be parallel with each other, perfectly parallel. I measured from this edge all the way down 50 inches. And then that's where I put my line. That's where I nailed in and put my line. I did that everywhere. I think I did it on did I do it on every post? No, I didn't do it on every post. I probably didn't have to do it as many times as I did. And what I'm finding is that this is really, really close to the ground. And I'm not so sure that that's how far, because I was originally thinking I was going to put my board underneath, just like I did the top. But I think what I'm going to do to compensate is I'm just going to put it on the top of the line, not the bottom. And then that way it leaves me plenty of room to put my slats, because I don't want my slats to touch the ground. I want them to be just over the ground, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I ran my line. Now I'm going to do the same thing that we did up here, except we're going to do it down here, and we're going to put it above this string line. Okay guys, I know where I'm going to put my center runner now, and I'm not a carpenter, so if you're a carpenter, or there's a lot of guys out there that are like that, there's probably a better way to do this, but I'll tell you what I did, because now I've got my runners on the top and the bottom, and I did that by string line, but I didn't do my string line for the middle. What I did was I had to find center. I had to find center between here and here, okay? And the way I did that was I measured from the bottom of the top rung to the top of the bottom. And that gives me the distance between, okay? And then I cut it in half. I cut it in half. And I found the center line, okay? I found the center line, but this, oh, can you see it? There might not be enough light. Let me go to a different board. Good Lord. Okay, there we go. Can you see my line? It's a little faint, right? That is actually not center, okay? It's not center. What this is this is half the width or the height, whatever you want to call it, of one of these boards. above center. So what I did, it was 2 3/4 is how tall those were. So I cut it in half, and then ended up being 1 3/8. And now my math might be wrong because, like I said, I am not a carpenter. So what I did is I measured that. I put a little tick mark right here, and then I measured from this line up to here, up to the top. That measured to be 22 inches. So then I measured below, not on this board, I actually did on another one. I measured below 1 3/8 below center line, and then I took a measurement from that tick mark down to the bottom, and guess what? It was 22 inches. That tells me that this line, the 1 3/8 above center line, is where the top of my board needs to go. So I took that tick mark, I used my speed square, and I drew a line. I drew a line across there. So now when I run my boards, I know that they're going to have to be somewhere really, really close to this line if I'm going to keep myself parallel. Now, these fences, you say, Matt, why do you go through all this trouble instead of just buying prefab fences, fence panels? Well, the problem with those fence panels is they're not perfect. And the longer your fence goes, a professional fencer might be a little different, I don't know, but I'm not a professional fencer. The longer you go, those panels tend to not line up with your post, because the panels might be not 8 feet, but it might be 7 feet and 11 inches or 7 feet and 11.5 inches. So you have to kind of go on chance that your panels are going to fit and that you put your posts in exactly the right spot. So the longer the fence goes and the more your errors start becoming relevant, your fence post might not line up. So I like to do it this way, okay? And but you got to figure out how to make it aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So that's what I'm doing. And like I said, you carpenter folks, you guys might be able to make some comments. I don't know how many fences I'm going to do, but this is a friend. So I'm happy to do it for them. And this is my logic, and I hope it's helpful if you decided to start building your own fence. And while we're in the middle of this project, I want you to know that this really isn't hard work. This is not hard work. It is time consuming. It is mundane. A lot of measuring, a little bit of thinking here and there, okay? So if you're inclined at all carpentry wise, this really is not a difficult task. It just takes a little while. So anyways, I'm going to start putting up these middle pieces with my buddy here, and I'll let you guys know when it's all done. I think you guys have seen enough cutting, measuring, and screwing, so that's enough of all that. So we'll see you guys when we're done putting the middles up, and so stay tuned. Okay, I'm gonna actually have to dub this this portion a little bit, because for whatever reason I'm having sync issues with my audio. So what I do is I'm having the rest of this video on my computer watching it, and then I'm going to try and narrate it to you. And you should see this as 2 videos in one of me telling you, and then also the part that's not synced. So you'll see me talking to you twice, but I'm going to delete the audio on the other. So I'm waiting to get to the spot where I can start narrating again. Here we are. So it's going to be funny. My health had to go. He's actually got a stained glass business. Yeah, right now what I'm doing is I'm actually pitching my buddy's stained glass business. It's called Watergate Glass or Watergate Stained Glass. I can't remember, but he's got a Facebook page. And the funny part about this is he named his company Watergate, and his last name is Nixon. Pretty funny, but he did that on purpose. But stained glass, just to throw a little pitch out there, it's not normally considered all that cool. And when I heard that he was doing it, I was like, what, stained glass, really? Are you serious? But then I saw some of the stuff he did, and it's actually pretty cool. So I encourage you to check out his Facebook page, Watergate Glass. So I'm still yip-yapping. I'm talking about the slats because I don't have the slats on site right now, and we're going to buy the pointed ones, and they're not pressure treated. So I'm talking about how I have to cover them up, and so they don't get rained on, because it was supposed to rain that day. So now I'm just kind of giving the overview of what everything looks like, and then I'm going to show you a little bit on the end, I believe, how I left the end open. The reason why is because I didn't get my post set correctly. So I actually set them on the opposite side of the string line than I was supposed to. So I've got like this 4-inch area that I'm not lined up. So I'm probably going to screw the runner into this 2x4 that you see, because that's where they had actually attached the old fence. They took it down, and that's the old nail. So I'm just going to run this runner all the way up to that 2x4, and then just kind of probably toenail it. So what I'm talking about here is when you're attaching, it's important to attach your fences together, perpendicular running fences, because it actually strengthens it. It's probably pretty good with posts anyway, but anytime that you can actually do them perpendicular and attach the fence to each other, they all play off each other and strengthen each other. So as you can see, I didn't get all the boards up because Dennis had to leave. He estimated it took about 3 minutes to do a board, but we just ran out of time for him. So here's the other end, and I'm running into the same problem where the post is not lined up because I set it on the wrong side of the string line. It's supposed to be in line with that big post that you see that my line is strung around. So again, I'm about 4 inches off here, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it. And the gap is actually the width of that post, so that's why I was smacking that post. And I should have ran my post in line with that big post. So now what I'm talking about is I'm talking about attaching 2x4s to this big post to take up the gap. So I got to make up about 4 inches, maybe only even 2 inches. So I'm talking about attaching on that side, on both sides, and then taking my runner and cut it all the way up to those 2x4s that are attached to the big post, and attach it that way. But it's a dilemma. You can probably focus more on me, this one right here. But as I figured out, I'm actually going to do it a little bit differently. They're going to have me rebuild that front portion of the fence, and now actually I can attach them perpendicular instead of attaching to that post, and it will be just as strong because the width of that small portion of fence that I'm going to that I'm going to replace, it's actually going to be so short that it's going to be just as strong. It's almost like I'm going to run my fence right in the middle of those two posts and attach it to the perpendicular panel that is also attached to those two posts. So I suppose I'm just going to end it right here, and that's where I am. That's where I'm at this week, and I hope you're enjoying watching me build this. I hope you're enjoying the video, and I just appreciate you coming along. And maybe you're encouraged that maybe you can do this as well. Because like I've been saying to you, I am not a carpenter. I'm not even a fencing company. I'm just a lawn guy, and I'm trying to make a little money here and there and do the things that I can do. So in the off season, that's what I would encourage you to do. What else can you do besides mow lawns? Then do that. You don't have to be a pro. You really don't. If you can do it, then you can do it and make some money off of it. So I'm building a fence. Hopefully I do more. So anyways, until next week, that's the end of the fence building. And stick around. Don't forget, because I've got my tag time. That's my time alone with God, my devotional between me and God, and it's coming up right after. All right, little guys. This is the time where I share my time alone with God, and if you're sticking around to see this portion of the video, I'm just really glad you are, because it's my pleasure to share my relationship with God with you. And today's application that I'm going to have is from Romans 14:23, and I'm going to read the verse, and then I'm going to kind of tell you a little bit of my perspective on it. But Romans 14:23 says this. It says, "But he who doubts is condemned if he eats, because his eating is not from faith. And whatever is not from faith is sin." And the part of this verse that stuck out to me was that whatever is not from faith is sin. And whether you're a person that's had faith for a long time, or whether you're a person that has no faith at all, or no matter where you're at in your faith walk, this subject of sin always comes up. And should I do this or should I not do that? Is this right? Is this wrong? And this verse, I feel like, directs it or addresses that directly. Whatever is not from faith is sin. Now, this passage is specifically talking about eating unclean things, because back in the Old Testament there was clean things to eat and there was unclean things to eat. There was things that were defiled and there were things that were pure, and some things were forbidden for the Israelites. And we kind of struggle with that with modern day, because we feel like that some of that is dated, because pork, we can eat pork. That's not a problem for us these days. For most of us, some of us are still living as if pork or pigs would be a defiled type of thing, or whatnot. I could be a little bit off on that, but the point of this is that there were things that were off limits, but Christ has called us to a life without limits. We limit ourselves by our own flesh, but our sin is actually what does that. It's the sin that lives inside of us that limits our ability to partake in the freedom of Christ. So whatever is from faith or whatever is not from faith is sin. So how do I apply that? Well, when I go through my daily life and I think about the things that I do, the decisions that I make, and sometimes I feel a little guilty about it. Sometimes I feel like maybe I shouldn't have done that. Well, that's doubt. It says, but he who doubts is condemned. So basically, if I'm feeling that guilt, I'm actually condemning myself and leading my own self into sin if I continue to do certain things, no matter what it is, because I doubt. It's not from faith. And this scripture says, whatever is not from faith is sin. So how do I apply that again? Well, if I doubt, then don't do it. Or if I doubt anything, if I have any doubt one way or another, I ought not proceed until I can be fully convinced, to have full faith that what I'm doing is pleasing to the Lord. So the common targets might be like alcohol. That's probably the biggest one. Is alcohol good or bad? Well, that's debatable in the Christian community, but this is what I say. If you doubt, you're condemned already. If you are guilty in your own heart of how you treat alcohol, then yes, it's sin for you. But another part in that scripture says that we ought not think badly of someone who eats of things that are considered to be unclean. So I myself, I can't look at somebody, if I've decided in my heart that I can't drink without guilt or without condemning myself in my own heart, I ought not look at someone else and condemn them if they do drink, just because I've chosen not to drink. Now, this is not my personal thing on alcohol. This is just an example. It could be anything. It could be overeating. It could be language that we use. It could be the way we talk to people, the way we treat them. Whatever is not done in faith is sin. So I need to evaluate my life, and I need to evaluate the things that I do and the decisions that I make, and consider, am I really doing it in faith? Because if not, then I'm in sin. So I would definitely encourage you, if you're having questions about the way you're living your life and the decisions that you're making, whether you're a believer or not, then I would encourage you to use this as the standard and make the adjustments that you need to make in order for you to do what's pleasing in the eyes of the Lord and to keep your conscience clear. So anyways, Romans 14:23, and whatever is not from faith is sin. So I hope this helps you in deciding the paths that you should take, especially if you're struggling to live the Christian life, not knowing what that might look like. This is what helps me to define how to live in a righteous manner. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my tag time, my time alone with God. I enjoy sharing it with you. I hope you enjoyed the lawn care videos. So don't forget to comment, subscribe, and share.